Well, I think it's time that I did a rant about the wrestling fan base around the pro wrestling world and IWYWC and this and that. We need to talk about especially a couple of things that I need to get off my chest. Number one is that why is it that every time that you state an opinion on Twitter, not this community, baseball, whatever it can be, but wrestling specifically, if you don't like something, then don't talk about it. Don't reply to that tweet. Why do you have to reply to that tweet just because you're gonna get fucking tweet fucked and shit like that? And if you don't like this and whatever, I don't get it. Like, back then, like in my opinion, Twitter was like, the platform was meant to be for voicing your opinion. Everybody's gonna fucking bash on shit. Like if I don't like anything from AEW or WWE, I'm not saying I'm a fan of it. I'm not saying I'm a mark for either because to be honest, they're basically that, but AEW is doing better at the minute. I'm not saying I'm a fan. I'm saying I'm just a fan of one certain brand. I'm a pro wrestling fan, so I'm going to judge it on both sides. I'm going to give my opinion fairly, and if it, like I said before, if AEW does something bad or good, I'll criticize it and talk about the good things what they've done. Same with the WWE. I'm not going to flip on the side or just stick to one side of the coin. And the other thing is that I know people in the comments after see are gonna roast me and say stuff like that in the comments, and I don't really care to be honest because I'm just voicing my opinion and I just want to rant about things like I just want to rant about a couple of things about wrestling fans and fan bases, smarts and anti-smarts and just all above really as well. And one thing I despise of really the what's killing the passion for me in the wrestling world is that people especially on YouTube, are saying AEW has ruined Miro. Ruined Miro. He's been there for 2 months in a pandemic year. He's just finding his feet. He was Miro. He was the most over guy in the WWE. He was getting. These were the same people that were saying, "Oh my God, Miro to AEW, Miro to AEW." But as soon as he comes to AEW, you're like, WWE reject, WWE reject. Like, didn't you guys want to fucking push him? Like, do you guys know what you fucking want? And then these are the people that actually, I've never written a television show, never actually been in production before, who are actually saying all this shit. And these are the ones that fucking don't have no facts. Miro was Rusev in WWE. He was micromanaged as Rusev. Vince only saw him as a mid-carder at best. He said that the fans were mocking him when they were chanting Rusev, the most over babyface on SmackDown Live at that point. Vince was saying they were mocking him. Now, do you think that's really good? And stuff like that. And then you've got the audacity to say Cody Rhodes, um, to say that Cody Rhodes is right, that Vince will hold down talent, i.e. Cesaro, i.e. everybody else in the company he's held down because he doesn't see him as world champion material. And Cody was actually saying that 2 years ago when he left WWE or whatever the fuck it was, 5 years ago, cannot remember. Even himself was held down because he even said himself Vince is the world champion in him. I don't know, maybe that's what's wrong with Kofi right now because maybe Vince was the world champion in Kofi. He may be, did it once because we never had a black WWE champion, which is a great thing that you got a reaction. I told you to do that, and I think that was the right thing to do. But obviously Vince does it like I'll do it once and that's it for a reaction, and then look now it's back in a new day. But anyway, I'm just on a like brown things. I was just wanted to rant about that. But anyway, let Miro find what suits Miro. He's finally getting creative control. He's never had that before in his career. He's just come from the WWE, where everything's micromanaged, promos, everything, like the robotic promos. He can finally express himself as a captain, find what suits him. Some of these guys he's never worked with before, i.e. Kip Sabian, i.e. Penelope Ford, and all these other people, guys and girls he's never worked with before. Yes, Chris Jericho's been there. Yes, Jake Hager's been there. He's worked with those guys. But let him find what finds him. And you don't want to really overexpose him as a character because a lot of times, especially in the WWE and on the main roster, and I hate it when it does this, especially in my opinion, when you have every single week you have them on TV week in, week out. It happened with John Cena, it happened with Roman Reigns to a point when when he was on TV too much, and then obviously they turned him heel in the Tribal Chief, and finally turning him heel and change of the character was good. But with AEW just having one show, one thing I did like about NXT in the past was that they actually could, you know, they could rotate their talents. And Al Cole could maybe be on 1 week and do his storyline, his feud, and get it over. Next week, you could have like a Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano get their feud over, and then they'll have their time the week after, and you can rotate it. On the main roster with WWE, it's like you're on SmackDown, you're on SmackDown, Raw, and everybody gets overexposed. And if you get overexposed as a character and as a personality, then that's where the critics and everybody's going to turn on you, and they're like, "This is the top guy." And then, especially when you're trying to build a top guy, when you're trying to make big stars in WWE, something that you've not done in over fucking 13 years, 12 years, maybe long, stuff like that. Everybody's saying Becky should be world champion, or Seth Rollins should be or Kofi should be world champion. He's not drawing money. Maybe it's because maybe he's getting too overexposed on the main roster, and maybe he needs to be rotated, and you need to build stars around him to actually make a fucking show. These same people that are actually fucking saying, these are people that watch WhatCulture.com and all these other fucking goofy websites that when Cody said saying what he said about the Shrek Daddy, which Shrek Daddy was right, saying that basically everything that Cody said, he's a liar anyway. So basically, he was saying like, yeah, I've told you about it before, but they was like, oh, Cody's right, please, please, and this is what these wrestling big interviews will do because they think that they're journalism. Please do an interview for my website, please. I really need an interview for my website because I really need to. It's not really doing too well, and if you tweet me, maybe it'll get better hits than it would if I was just doing it on my own. So that's it. And stuff like that. And all this other fucking stuff. And people are crapping on AEW. AEW's been around a year. 1 year AEW's been around. How long did it take the WWF to get back to where it was in the Attitude Era? It wasn't 97. Yeah, 97 was kind of, you was having the start of that, and you was having, Austin was coming to his own in 97. Brett was leaving and stuff. Shawn was still WWF champion. Triple H was coming out of the Hunter's Helmsley gimmick and coming into Triple H eventually, and Mick Foley was obviously coming into his Cactus Jack, and these other characters he had. The Rock wasn't quite there yet, and could you imagine if social media was around then? Oh my God, The Rock is getting misused, he's getting buried, he's getting ruined. Stone Cold, Triple H, Owen Hart, all these other people that you were mentioned. And another thing I'm going to mention, how about when you find the right character, i.e. with a Rusev, maybe they need a right good guy or a bad guy to go against. Maybe Austin needed Rock, like Rock and Austin needed Rock. Austin and Rock needed each other, like Vince and Austin needed each other. Because they just gel so well. And when you find that mix of a good character and a good heel and a good story on top, then that's great television. You're going to get people watching week in, week out. And then you build the other guys and girls around you. You have a strong women's division that, in my opinion, is super weak. Britt Baker is the only woman on that women's roster that actually can A, cut a promo, B, be a character, and A, actually fucking have a meaningful purpose on the show. No offense to the other women out there, but they're not fucking ready for TV. I love Nyla Rose and I love whatever the fuck her name was, Women Champion Shida, but she's not TV ready. I'm sorry, I know she's on, and people say, oh, she's been on TV for a year. Yeah, but it takes time for these women and these guys to get over, because some of these guys, and I've said it before, that some of these guys have never been on primetime television. Like Kenny Omega and all these, you have to be on Access TV, but that's different from TNT. TNT is a bigger platform than Access TV. It's like it's like a TV presenter going from YouTube to, I don't know, ABC or something, doing news, or CNN or whatever, like a big platform. Like you're stepping away from YouTube to see. It's going to take time for you to adapt to camera angles and stuff like that, and get over and get recognized with the crowd, because ultimately AEW's goal is trying to get these casual fans back in and maybe bring back some old WCW guys, and like, WCW fans are like, remember when they want to maybe almost small TNA people are like, the title of WWE is bullshit. They don't want to watch WWE's micromanagement, and they're like, I watch I watch AEW, and I'll see what a Kenny Omega is, and I'll see what a XYZ is. And another thing I want to make about is basically you have all these people bashing AEW. Okay, it's been around 1 year. WCW came around Nitro in 1995. Do you think those shows were actually good in 1995 when you had Lex Luger coming in and the Outsiders and stuff like that early on? I'm not talking about 97, 98 when they found it. Sometimes it has to take a while before they find the groove and they've got it. Austin, Vince, they worked together and they found it and it worked. You look at Shawn Michaels with DX and Triple H, it worked and they worked and they gelled together. Obviously, they worked with each other before, and this and that. You've had other things like more recently Daniel Bryan Triple H. It worked. It was a good storyline. It was slowly built up and it had a purpose to it. So you've got to give these time. You cannot just criticize it on 1 year. And guess what? WCW was only around 1 year in 1995, and I don't think nobody was criticizing it back then as much as they criticize it now, much as they criticize the AEW. So that's that and stuff like that. And remember, when WWE was becoming big, I know I'm back to WWE, I'm flipping between the companies. WWE, it only started getting hot in 98, 99, 2000 as well. When obviously you had that transition when Austin was champion. When Austin was champion, that's when you could see when the WWE was going to really kick WCW in the ass. When you had Triple H, Foley, you had Ken Shamrock, and all these other guys you're making your stars, and then you had WCW who were kind of doing what WWE are doing now, which are turning away their audience and pissing everybody off in a minute. Then obviously with the Legends thing. Now I know I said about the whole thing with I don't want to see WCW, WWE, TNA Legends take the spot away from fellow wrestlers, which is I don't want that to happen because that's something what TNA fell on trap with a lot over the years, especially with Jeff Jarrett and all these other guys, Kurt Angle. They need they don't need Sting to wrestle. If he wants to wrestle, let him wrestle for one match. But you get for what you pay for. Look at Goldberg versus Undertaker, Saudi Arabia. I don't watch those shows, but I heard it was bad. I saw the highlights on the internet. They shouldn't have been in that ring that night. And I mean, I don't mind them being at Saudi Arabia. If they want to have a big payday and get back to the fans in Saudi Arabia, that's cool because so they don't get to see stuff like that, wrestling wise. So I didn't mind that, and have Goldberg or Undertaker do like an appearance, not a match. They shouldn't have been in that match. And then stuff like that. So Sting is going to come in, and he's going to maybe coach some of these guys and help them with television because Sting has got a ton of knowledge in the wrestling business. He's been in the business 30 plus years, 35, 6, nearly 40 years in the business, and he's worked he's worked for Vince McMahon, he's worked for Ted Turner, he's worked for Dixie Carter, and stuff like that. So let him actually teach some of these guys on TV, like an MJF, where the camera angle is, and maybe come in and maybe help on production and stuff like that. So yeah, that's my rant on wrestling. I don't want to go on this, but peace.